I just finished watching every match day from game week 1 of AFCON 2025, and these were my immediate reactions from each game day. We kick off AFCON 2025 with the sole game on game day 1 being the match between Morocco and Comoros in a rainy night in Rabat. With more than 100 teams between them in the FIFA rankings, it was to no surprise that it was mainly one-way traffic. At halftime, it wasn't looking too good for the hosts with a 0-0 scoreline and a Rahimi saved penalty. However, the stats told us what to expect in the second half. 19% possession for Comoros in that first half, with their only shot being a free kick from the halfway line. The breakthrough came when Mazraoui cut the ball back to Brahim Diaz, who was left unmarked and calmly finished to make it 1-0. Comoros had one real chance through Rafiq Saeed to make it 1-1, but couldn't take advantage of it. And at this level, those mistakes get punished. Ayoub El-Kaabi sealed it with an outrageous bicycle kick, which to me is already one of the goal of the tournament contenders. 2-0 for Morocco. My man of the match in this game had to be Noussair Mazraoui, the Manchester United man, who was excellent on both sides of the ball. Overall, this was an excellent professional display from the host nation. Game day 2 kicked off with a huge Group A clash between Mali and Zambia, two teams looking to make a massive step towards qualification into that next round. The first half belonged entirely to Mali. Zambia were kept to 0 shots in that first half, while Mali dominated possession and tempo. Mali even had a penalty, but El Bilal Toure was denied by Willard Mwanza, who kept Zambia alive despite the relentless pressure from Mali. The second half, however, flipped the whole script. In the second half, Zambia pushed higher, took more risks, and tried to force the issue. However, that whole attacking approach left them a bit exposed defensively. And it was that exact attacking intent from Zambia that led to Mali's first goal. From a corner with barely anyone back, Lassine Sinayoko punished Zambia, putting Mali ahead and seemingly in control. But Zambia refused to go quietly. Deep at the stoppage time, Patson Daka rose highest for a brilliant diving header to make it 1-1 in the 92nd minute. The goal, beautiful. The celebration, less so. A cartwheel that was 1 or 2 millimeters away from a neck brace. The match ended 1-1, a huge point for Zambia and a very disappointing point for Mali, who will feel that they should have put the game away in that first half. My man of the match for that game has to be Willard Mwanza for that penalty save and for keeping Zambia competitive in that first half where they were under siege. Game day 2 continued with the first Group B clash of AFCON 2025 between South Africa and Angola. Angola started this game on the front foot. Many big saves came from goalkeeper Ronwen Williams to keep South Africa competitive in the first 20 minutes. Despite their attacking threat, South Africa were the team to strike first through Oswin Apolis, who sold the defender with a brilliant fake shot before placing it calmly into that bottom left-hand corner. Despite going 1-0 down, Angola didn't fade. They kept the pressure on and were rewarded in the 36th minute when Show flicked the ball past Ronwen Williams from a set piece to make it 1-1. South Africa still looked shaky in this first half, picking up a lot of yellow cards and showing some real defensive vulnerabilities. The second half, however, was a lot more balanced from South Africa. Mokoena took an absolute screamer and slammed the crossbar, showing real attacking intent for South Africa. In the 80th minute, the main man, Lyle Foster, curled a beautiful effort into the top right corner to get the winning goal and my man of the match award. Final score, South Africa 2, Angola 1. Not the greatest showing from my predicted group winners, but an important 3 points nonetheless. Game day 2 concluded with the second Group B clash between Egypt and Zimbabwe. Egypt started this match on the front foot, wave after wave of attacks, but finishing in the final third looked to be a real problem for the Pharaohs. Then the shock. Completely against the run of play, Zimbabwe struck first in the 20th minute. This goal came from a perfect cross into Prince Dube, who touched, turned, and finished perfectly into the bottom left corner, putting the underdogs ahead. Egypt responded almost immediately from the bench by removing Imam Ashur and bringing on Mustafa Mohamed to shore up things in the attacking third. Zimbabwe still had their moments in the game, but Omar Marmoush tied the scoring by cutting in from the left and blasting it above the goalkeeper into the roof of the net to make it 1-1. From this moment, Egypt continued to show their dominance and keep their foot on the gas, keeping Zimbabwe to only 20% of possession. In the 90th minute, who else but the Egyptian king, Mohamed Salah, to deliver the winning goal for Egypt, a beautiful finish underneath two players into the bottom right corner. The assist for this goal came from my man of the match, Mustafa Mohamed, who came on and made a huge difference in the way Egypt attacked for the rest of the game. Final score of this game, Egypt 2, Zimbabwe 1. Overall, the Pharaohs will need to be a lot more clinical in the coming games against much tougher opposition. Game day 3 started with one of my key matchups, the Group D clash between DR Congo and Benin. As predicted, this was a really tight game, with the final score being 1-0. The first half was tense. Benin controlled possession with 68% in that first half, but the only shot on target, which was a goal, came from Theo Bongonda for the DRC. The goal, a strange one. The ball coming in over the top with the Benin defender seemingly ducking out of the way for the DRC winger to tap it home. The second half, however, was much more balanced. DR Congo even thought they got another, but it was ruled out with VAR and the game remained 1-0 on a knife edge until the final whistle. My man of the match was Chancel Mbemba, who was immense in that first half with a total of 13 defensive actions throughout the game. Overall, a gritty 3 points for the DRC, but an excellent start for their 2025 AFCON campaign. Game day 3 continued with the other Group D clash between Senegal and Botswana. Senegal started the game very strong, with Iliman Ndiaye coming very close to scoring twice in the opening 20 minutes. Both those chances, however, were denied by the brilliant Botswana goalkeeper. The pressure eventually told, however, with a beautiful Nicholas Jackson finish in the 40th minute from a cutback from Ismail Jacobs to make it 1-0. The second half followed the exact same pattern and another Jackson goal. This one required a lot more work, dragging the ball beautifully between a defender and chipping it with his other foot over the goalkeeper. A sublime finish from the Bayern Munich man. Senegal would then go on to get a third in the 90th minute through Sheriff Ndiaye, who taps in a low cross in the bottom corner. This was a dominant, controlled display from Senegal. My man of the match in this game has to be Nicholas Jackson for the beautiful double that he had, sealing the win for Senegal. After this, game day 3 gave us our first Group C clash between Tanzania and Nigeria. Nigeria started with very high attacking intent, whipping in a lot of crosses to try and use their aerial dominance, especially through Victor Osimhen. However, after an Osimhen effort was cleared off the line, the breakthrough finally came. In the 36th minute, Semi Ajayi met a perfect cross from Alex Iwobi to make it 1-0 for the Super Eagles. However, everything would change after the break. Tanzania would stun Nigeria 5 minutes after the restart with a beautiful finish from Charles Mumbwa in the 50th minute to make it 1-1. He was left unmarked and coolly finished past the Nigerian goalkeeper. However, Nigeria responded almost immediately. Just 2 minutes later, Ademola Lookman would smash a brilliant strike from outside the box to make it 2-1. Another assist for Alex Iwobi. Tanzania grew in confidence throughout the half, playing a lot more expansive football. However, Nigeria held on to this 2-1 scoreline. Despite the win, Nigeria will be concerned, only scoring 2 goals from 21 shots that game. My man of the match for this game has to be Alex Iwobi. 2 assists, one way better than the other, and the most chances created in the game. The final game to close out the day was the match between Tunisia and Uganda in Group C. The rain in Rabat usually means that we can expect chaos. However, this one followed exactly to the script. Tunisia struck early when Hannabel Mejbri whipped in a beautiful cross from a corner into Elias Skhiri's head to make it 1-0. True to form, Tunisia then eased off, allowing Uganda to get into the game a lot more and to amass a lot more possession. The second goal, however, put a damper on Uganda's play, as Ali Al-Abdi whipped a beautiful cross into Ilyas Al-Ashuri, who with the instep takes a first-time volley into the top right corner. Tunisia, however, kept their dominance after the half. Ali Al-Abdi's effort was saved by the Ugandan goalkeeper, but he parried into danger, with Elias Al-Ashuri being quickest and tapping it home to make it 3-0 for the Carthage Eagles. A beautiful double for the out-of-position winger. Uganda, however, would have their say with a late consolation goal in the 92nd minute, proving to be too little too late. Final score of the game, Tunisia 3, Uganda 1. My man of the match, Hannab El-Mejbri, was everywhere in that game. Immense in the midfield, and when he was subbed off in the 89th minute, Tunisia really lost control of their possession play. The real test for them, however, will come in that match against Nigeria, which will prove how serious Tunisia are in this tournament. We kick off the final game day of match week 1 with Group E's Burkina Faso taking on Equatorial Guinea. A quiet first half saw 0 shots on target, but the chaos would arrive late. After Basilio Ndong was sent off, it was actually Equatorial Guinea who would strike first. Despite them being a man down, Marvin Anibo headed home for Equatorial Guinea to make it 1-0 in the 85th minute. Burkina Faso, however, weren't done yet. In a cinematic finish, Burkina Faso scored twice in added time. The first came from Georgie Menungu, with the second coming only 3 minutes later when Edmond Tapsoba headed it home to make it 2-1 for Burkina Faso. The final score would not be good viewing for Equatorial Guinea fans as Burkina Faso take it 2-1. 2 goals coming after the 90th minute. My man of the match in this game has to be Edmond Tapsoba. Beautiful goal to win the game, leadership at the back, and he was even involved in that first goal for Menungu by slipping the ball behind the Equatorial defense. We then move to the second Group E match between Algeria and Sudan, and Algeria already scored. Riyad Mahrez is still that guy. Curled in a beautiful low finish into the bottom left-hand corner to make it 1-0 in only the 2nd minute of the game. Sudan's day, however, would go from bad to worse. Salah Adil was sent off in the 40th minute after receiving a second yellow card. However, Sudan looked a lot more dangerous with only 10 men on the pitch. However, with Sudan's increase in attacking intent while only having 10 men on the pitch, there were many gaps that Algeria would then expose. Mahrez would grab his second after finishing a beautiful cross from the outside of Amora's boot. Ibrahim Maza would also get on the scoreline to make it 3-0 after an assist from Baghdad Bounedjah, who beautifully headed it down for the young Algerian to score. A beautiful passing of the torch moment from the oldest Algerian player to the youngest Algerian player. Final score for this game, and to no surprise, Algeria dominated, with the score being 3-0. Despite Riyad Mahrez's 2 goals and brilliant play, I have to give my man of the match to Amora, who looked dangerous throughout the game. Was so creative with that cross to Mahrez, and also should have had 1 goal if it wasn't for the post. Moving to the tail end of match week 1, we have our first game from the group of death, being Côte d'Ivoire against Mozambique. What started off as a very dull game in the first half would finally have a goal in the second half. 5 minutes after the restart, Amad Diallo would beautifully finish a goal with his left foot into the bottom left-hand corner after a beautiful assist from Frank Kessie. Despite the quality gap, Mozambique ensured that the game remained competitive. A last-minute chance from Katomo's effort almost equalized for Mozambique, but unfortunately, it was not their day. Final score for this game was Côte d'Ivoire 1, Mozambique 0, with my man of the match, Frank Kessie, running the midfield, getting an important assist, and being an overall powerhouse for Les Éléphants. The final game of the match week was one that I predicted to be very fun. Gabon against Cameroon. This one started at full throttle. A slick Cameroon move ended with Brian Mbeumo setting up Eta Ayong to make it 1-0 in the 10th minute. A beautiful finish with a nutmeg to the goalkeeper. The opening half an hour felt very chaotic, very end-to-end, almost like a basketball game. Gabon, however, would shock everyone in the 33rd minute by bringing on supposedly injured Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Mario Lemina in order to try and get that equalizing goal. Cameroon, however, held firm, with Brian Mbeumo being a major player for the Lions. Gabon, however, could not beat Devin Epassi. Of course, with that being said, my man of the match goes to Brian Mbeumo. A big game for a big name player. After taking a look at all of these games, these were my main winners and losers. My first winner is the DRC. I said before that the game against Benin would be a true test for what we can expect from the DRC in this tournament, and they took that test and aced it. They defended very well in that game and look to be a big force in this tournament. My second winner has to be Burkina Faso. They produced a brilliant comeback win in extra time to produce all 3 points. The pessimist in me says they probably should have done better against a 10-man Equatorial Guinea. However, you cannot deny that getting points on the board, especially 3 big ones, is very important at the start of an AFCON campaign. My third winner has to be the indomitable Lions, Cameroon. This was one of the best attacking games of the match week. However, it did lack the goals. Cameroon, however, will not care, dispatching of a very hard Group F rival while barely getting out of second gear. My first loser has to be Nigeria. Despite picking up 3 points, they made a lot of hard work out of a team that they should have played off the park. The Super Eagles will need to fix themselves up defensively after the mistake that led to Tanzania's goal. My second loser has to be Benin. A team that I had doing well in this group failed miserably on the first hurdle. Despite having massive amounts of possession during the game, this was a team that didn't even look like scoring. They will need to improve their overall attacking input after only having 2 shots on target in the whole first game. My third loser, unfortunately, is Equatorial Guinea. They were leading 1-0 for a large portion of the game. Despite being a man down, they should have shored themselves up more defensively after conceding the first goal to Burkina Faso in order to take at least 1 point home. Leaving with nothing will definitely be painful for them. However, being competitive with 10 men will definitely be one positive to take from this match. And that's my review. Thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and even share the video to let me know to make more football content. Also, please let me know in the comments who impressed you the most this match week. For me, I'd have to say Senegal, but I'd really love to know what your opinions are. Thanks again for watching, and as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys. Peace out.